ourselves a question. Why are laws such a substance of great importance, especially in a country like India? So let's take an example. Imagine you're going to a wedding, okay? What do we go to weddings for exactly? One major reason, food. Obviously for food. But however, there are two different scenarios in my mind. Although one might be food, I guess the second might be you don't have to wait for your 6th or 7th course for your dessert. And secondly, you get a variety of food. India is pretty similar in that way. We have variety. Or to put it in a more professional way, we embrace our diversity. India is a country that is built on the grounds of diverse cultures and societal approaches, spanning its horizons over millions and millions of people that come from various different social and political backgrounds. Why are laws a substance of such great importance is our question at this point. So now that we know why it is, because of the diversity. In such a variety, in such diversity, there must be a certain unifying factor, right? A certain factor that brings us all together, brings all the different communities together under a common ground. Thus, the concept of laws was introduced. So, by definition, a law is defined to be a system of rules and regulations that are mainly enforced by a society or a government to regulate behaviors and practices. That came out great, right? It's Google's definition. Obviously, it comes out great. But however, we never really did understand much by just reading definitions of Google. So let's take a little bit of an example. So this image. So people who've studied the 19th century communal violence of Tamil Nadu, I'm sure you guys might know this incident very well. But for those who don't, let me give a bit of an explanation. So imagine a small community on the backskirts of our own homeland, which is Tamil Nadu. So this community played host to about 50 to 55 villages that comprised of people from a certain underprivileged class of the society. These people's livelihood mainly depended on being daily wage laborers in smaller industries. So on the eve of 25th December 1989, the lot of these villagers were murdered or massacred just for one simple reason, which was demanding equal wages as every single other working individual in that particular industry. So you guys might know that it is a deeply saddening incident, but however, communal violence was something that was very common in the 19th century. But it was not the case at this incident. This incident in a small village in Tamil Nadu became the driving force towards the establishment of the Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. This is it, isn't it? Comparative differentiation before a particular law was published and after a particular law was enforced. This Prevention of Atrocities Act ensured protection of underprivileged classes from even becoming collateral damage in communal violence. So now that we have a bit of an understanding that laws have become a great betterment for the structure of our country, let us first dive deeply into our own topic, which is law common for all? Okay, so let's imagine certain piece of a big whole, okay? So we know that our country is built on the grounds of diversities. So in a normal term, diversity means differences between us as individuals. What might be the type of differences that we have among ourselves? Firstly, religious beliefs. Secondly, we have community ideologies. Thirdly comes cultural traditions. And last but not the least, we have economical situations. So to find common ground between them, that is what a law does. It brings our different ideologies and unifies us on the basis of certain rules and regulations. So this is the actual difference, depiction of what laws do for our country. These laws bring together diversities in a great major scale so that it does not affect the livelihood of one particular individual. So these are brought together on mainly three moral grounds. Firstly, economical ground. Secondly, social grounds. And third and final and the big fish of all, political grounds. So let's look at these objectively, shall we? Firstly, economical grounds. So there is no particular definition when you talk about economic grounds of commonality. Let's take an example. Imagine you're crossing a road from one side of the pavilion to the other, and you see two cars crossing the signal. One of them, let it be the top model of the newest BMW. And the second one, let it be a Maruti 800 or maybe even an Alto. But there is one peculiar similarity in both of these cars that you notice. Both of them have fully tinted windows. I'm sure some of you understand the bigger picture here. Fully tinted windows are illegal when it comes to a country like India, to such an extent that fully tinted cars on roads can be reprimanded and the penalty for it is higher than ever expected. So once you've crossed the road and you walked a few meters, you notice that both of these cars have been pulled over by the enforcement agencies. So you might think that both of these cars have to be given whatever punishment they deserve as per law. But I see two different scenarios in my head. Firstly, it can happen that the person driving the BMW will say that he's a person of a higher social background or a higher economic background. That person might firstly be given a pardon because of their social status, or secondly, both of them might be given the same penalty, but still the person driving the BMW might be given a little more respect than the person driving the Maruti 800, even though they both have committed a crime against law. So in conclusion, what do we understand in this? The thing is that laws are enforced in a correct manner, but however, the system bends them according to societal backgrounds and economical backgrounds. Okay, so moving on to our next factor of discussion, societal fronts. So we as Indians come from a long line of societal upbringings, community expectations, and even ancestral beliefs to say. So one of the most intriguing factors that affects our day-to-day life is social stigma. So let's take an example, going back to our stories. I'm sure everyone here would have supported mental health and mental well-being in any of our, even though in social media we would have supported its uprise. So mental health and mental well-being is the talk of the hour, every hour, especially in today's generation. So the importance of mental health and mental well-being, thanks to our Gen Z generation, has literally moved up in the global scale. But let's say 10 or 15 years back, the idea of someone being mentally unstable or mentally unwell was seen as such a stereotypical thing, to such an extent that the amount of people in India that faced mental health related issues grew up to a significant 45% in our entire country. So I guess with that we can say even social stigma leads to a bending of enforcement law systems to suit age-old beliefs and practices. And our final topic of discussion will be the big fish, the lifeblood of Indian judicial systems, which is political enforcement systems. So I'm sure you guys might all be thinking I'm going to give a supporting example for this, but I feel like the Indian political system is one of the most exemplary ones that any country in the world has achieved, mainly because of the diversity present in our own country. But however we say, the political system in India has become even more standardized to suit vast motives and the variety of people here. So no matter what, the political system cannot be used as a feature to question commonality, mainly because it has made our country more structured and standardized. So economically, socially, politically, on all these factors, we can say that there is no question whether a law is right or wrong, or is it in the question for commonality or not. But however, TED is all about inspiring ideas, isn't it? And how do you inspire ideas? By mainly asking questions. So there's just one question here. Is the law common, or is the system that enforces this law common for everyone? There is no right or wrong. It's just a question of commonality. The answer lies in your hands. Thank you so much.